What is up, guys? It is Aniki here with Knox, Florian, and Supra. We're hosting this My Hero Academia panel for ANITUBE CON 2020. I have a channel dedicated primarily towards My Hero Academia. We do live reactions, and I host various streams, bringing people on regularly. You guys want to introduce yourselves, what you're about a little bit, starting with Knox?
Yeah, I'm Knox from Project Manga. We're a weekly shonen-centric manga review podcast that like peppers in random general anime and manga discussion topics like every other week. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. We started about 9 months ago. We cover 6 stories that are coming out of Jump right now: One Piece, My Hero Academia, Black Clover, Jujutsu Kaisen, Chainsaw Man, and The Promised Neverland weekly. But yeah, other than that, just a part of the family here this weekend for ANITUBE CON, bro. Super excited about it. Glad to be here, dude.
Florian?
Yep, this is Florian. Sometimes I go by Florian's Triangle or Flo the Wanderer. It doesn't really matter. Most people end up calling me Flo. Just so you're basically just trying to consume as much weeb content as possible and join as many discussions and talk about the things that we all love that bring us together. Yeah. Currently, I am trying to have my own channel on YouTube, and I do plan on creating my own manga that I'm working on, that I have been working on for years, and stuff like very early in development. But just look out for everything. Follow me on Twitter if you like. That's about it.
All right, Supra.
Yo, what's up, guys? Man, first and foremost, I just want to say thank you for inviting me to this, man. With the Steam panel. I'm excited for what you guys are doing here, man. This platform, this is all completely off topic, but dude, I'm just excited, bro. Like, you guys putting this together, man. The community needed this, bro, especially at this time, bro. So like,
glad to have you
awesome.
Here, dude.
Yeah, man. I'm meeting all you guys for the first time, which is dope because I've been in this community for a while now, and I still don't really know anybody. You know, it's so vast and crazy.
We're a family now, bro.
Yeah, no doubt, bro. No doubt. But yeah, man, you can just find me every Saturday afternoon on the Smash Podcast, along with my buddies right there. Shout out to those guys. I wish they could have been here, but they all busy, stuff like that. But man, that's pretty much it. I'll start a channel soon, but life is too hectic and too busy right now, bro.
I swear to God, though.
I just want to shout out all you guys. I don't want to mention anyone name and not mention whoever, so I'm just gonna say that everyone that put this together, man. You guys are dope for that. So let's do it.
And also, I just want to say that we were originally going to have Kid Otaku on stream. Unfortunately, he could not get off from work, so we did not get to have him available. But I kind of want to just dive into now the Season 5 discussion, because we're talking about what we think is going to be included in Season 5. And we know, based on the manga chapters, and obviously all of us here are readers, that the anime did not finish the Pro Hero arc. So going into that, like, how do you guys think we should expect the Season 5 to be handled, especially since we kind of cut off in the middle of the arc at the beginning or at the end of Season 4?
Right. So the last thing that we saw was Endeavor and the hood, right?
Yeah. Like we literally finished with like Endeavor falling from the sky, raising his fist. Like, you didn't even get what comes, like the little interaction that comes after he raises his fist. Like they cut off like in the middle of they cut off on page 13 of a chapter that had more pages in it.
Oh my God, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I didn't really. That's crazy.
I didn't even remember that. Okay, so forgive me, but remind me exactly what happens. Well, can we talk about what happens right after that?
So there's a certain character kind of pulls up for a conversation directly, because you have.
Oh yeah.
So
and then that certain character meets another certain character. Then
yeah. So like,
talking about everything in Season 5, I believe that we should be able to mention spoilers. It's going to be kind of hard to talk about, what's going to happen in Season 5, unless we want to keep it very ambiguous in the beginning and then move over to spoilers.
We are definitely going to keep it ambiguous in the beginning, then move over to spoilers.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah, so keep going.
So yeah, the thing is that the reason why I don't want to spoil that is just because people need to like experience the Pro Hero arc's finish for itself.
Yeah.
And if we give any like, there's only like there's literally like 2 chapters left in it. So if we try to explain like what happens in those 2 chapters, then we just completely spoil the end of the arc. But with joint training, for example, we get the return of Shinso. And so people like, I know my ex-girlfriend, for example, who like when I got her into My Hero, season 2 was Aaron, and Shinso was one of her favorite characters. So I'm sure a lot of people who have been watching since
Shinso is super popular among female watchers, I feel like.
Yeah, like I think part of it is like the sad boy vibe.
Yeah.
But then
that emo kid.
He's also like like when you think about what his story kind of represents, it's like this weird presumption that like gets cast upon you. He's one of the introductions into like quirk discrimination.
Yeah.
Which like as we touch on that later, like, further in the series, like even thinking about what's going to happen in My Villain Academia, that cutaway. Yeah. We're gonna get in season 5 with the introduction of the CRC. There's a certain level of it's interesting that we started with talking about quirk discrimination with Shinso just because of like the nature of his quirk. And then
just to rehash the quirk discrimination aspect, that's when you have a quirk that is deemed like negative or in like a more painted in a more evil light.
Yeah, and you're supposed to be a hero.
Yeah, you're supposed to be a hero, but like you control people's minds. That seems kind of dirty for a superpower. So that's why people with quirks like that get discriminated against. Just wanted to like rehash that.
And also, it's also people with less than quirks are seen as like they're looked down upon more than people with higher quirks. People like because you could discriminate against, like, say, in a positive way. I know it's weird to say, but like you could bring a certain group of people as thinking that they're better than you because of they have a higher whatever quirk they have, right? Like,
or like a better looking quirk, or like a quirk that like people are excited to see and aren't made to feel uncomfortable when they know that you have
like
you even in action.
Like on the bus ride over to the I believe the USJ, you had Kirishima talking to Bakugo and people like Todoroki saying, "Oh, I wish I had a flashy quirk. It's easier to become a hero because of that." People like to see those spectacles, like to see
exactly.
What's funny about that is Kaminari actually is like in the lower things, like in the sports festival, he was like the 3rd rank. But that's funny because the electricity quirks, I guess, are really not common, and that's actually a sought after quirk. So just because he didn't do well, just his quirk alone kind of got him some upbeats or some upvotes. Just because it was electricity quirk, I guess is not as common in the world.
So East, you actually bring up an interesting point. One of the things they specifically talk about at one point is how specifically electric quirks are so useful that many people don't become heroes that have them. It's one of those manga extras where they're like, surprisingly, even though it's an effective weapon because you can go into so many other roles, there's a lack of lightning-based quirk users that are actually professional heroes. And this does have some merit, as we see based on some of the stuff in the current manga arc, like that I'm not going to spoil in this early part of the stream, but seeing Kaminari actually have to be utilized in such a way is directly reflective of the fact that electricity quirks aren't that common as far as pro heroes utilizing them anymore. That being said, joint training is extremely polarizing arc. So one of the things that I just kind of want to ask everybody here is, what are you looking forward to most as far as like delivery, like what moments? Because there's a lot of things in season 5, or specifically during the joint training arc, that I think his character moments are very solid. I think that especially like round 2, round 3 really kind of show what people are willing to put in and like the commitment, especially that Class B has towards like overcoming these hurdles and the perspectives that other people have. Because people still say, oh, so-and-so should have been in Class B instead of Class A because they're not that good, and this person in Class B should have been, better. And I think that arc was trying to dispel that notion, but at the same time, well, I don't know. Do you guys feel like the whole Class B, Class A thing is kind of showcased as like they are decently competitive classes? Do you think that was showcased well during the arc?
Well, I first Class A, Class 1A, and Class 1B, technically it was never supposed to be set up that class A was, you know, is the better class just because they're A instead of B, right? It's just they diverse the kids just randomly. That's how I thought they did, at least. But since, you know, this is a shonen, we're focusing on Midoriya, we're going to be focusing on class 1A. They're going to get more shine. So people like, you know, the Todorokis and Bakugos are, and like, that's why class 1A is going to be over class 1B. But class 1B isn't no pushover, as we see in the joint training arc. Now, what I'm looking forward the most in that arc is specifically class 1B, because I really like when they got their chance to shine, especially when, you know, when they fought against Todoroki and how that fight went, and it could, like, you know, completely unexpected outcome. And I loved the fact that even the very first battle, how Tokuyami, even though like he had a huge showing out with when you see, like, you know, who he trained under with, like, and how what he learned from that person. But even that wasn't even enough. But, you know, but like class 1B, I'm looking forward to, you know, the progression. I like how Horikoshi characterized them. He always does well with, like, you know, like side characters. So I just want to see, you know, how they're handled in that arc, and I want to see how they move forward from there.
Yeah.
Bro, I completely agree with you, man. Completely agree, bro. Like, just the, like, because of the way it's perceived, like you said, class A has looked like miles ahead, above, and just better than class B, but they're all equally, like, you know, young heroes in training, bro. And the way that Horikoshi lets class B shine in this is so dope, bro, because they have characters like you wouldn't even be interested, or you're like, man, what the hell can this person possibly do? But they're like seriously legit, bro. Like Tetsu, that fool surprised me so much, bro. Like,
and Kohei knows that he's got that in his bag for people who are sleeping on characters that he doesn't, you know, put a lot of spotlight on.
Yes, he does, bro. He does, and he does it fantastically, bro. Like,
beautifully.
And here's the thing, right? One of the things that I also want to say is that a lot of people let the results of this fool you, and that's why I kind of wanted to like bring up that whole people in the fandom still say, oh, class A, like this person should be in class A because they're better, even though it's directly stated that's not the case. Especially when you look at, like, Monoma specifically says, if I had known a certain detail that ends up coming into play during this arc, the way this whole thing could have gone down completely different. And the thing is that it's easy to write that off as like, oh, like that he's just being, like, you know, petty. But that, like, when you think about the particular character, like, trait that like dictated what happened in that conflict, it's 100% spot on. Like, Monoma's abilities especially require like him having all this information on people that definitely would have influenced the way that round goes. And that's even not factoring in the One for All lore that we're going to be getting during the joint training arc, because that explains some serious history within the context of the story that I think a lot of people have questions about. And I remember seeing a lot of anime only fans, especially when we got the dream sequence, they were like, okay, what is this? What's happening? Is this the Avatar state? What is happening with Deku right now? That was like a big, like, people were freaking out with you, especially if you're in our Facebook community, stuff like that. So obviously we're not going to spoil what the big One for All lore development was in this one, because we don't actually need to explain that. But I do want to know how you guys felt about it, because I've always felt like the development was what I always thought One for All was going to be initially, and then it became something else from our perspective, only for it to literally be what I always thought it was going to be.
Wait, okay, so hold on. So wait, what do you mean by that?
Because, like, I always thought that when All Might was like, oh yeah, like, people don't know what my quirk is, I always thought that his quirk was going to be the byproduct of what we find out about the arc, like the quirk during that arc. Like, I always thought it was, this is going to be like
oh
yeah,
okay,
like that's
okay.
how yeah, like the big reveal at the end of the like arc about what.
Dude, you guessed that?
That's how I always thought it was going to be. Like, that's how the
so
explanation
awesome.
made it sound.
Yeah,
like, to me, the explanation made it sound.
Yeah, I mean, like looking back on it, like in retrospect, you're like, well, yeah, you know what I mean? But like, he fooled me. You know what I mean? Like, I had no idea it was gonna turn out like that. And a lot of people were really mad about that when the information came out. And it's like, you're only really mad about it because you're thinking about other stories that have handled that dynamic poorly.
Yeah. That's what I've heard so far. Like, people try to compare it to Naruto, and it was like, we're talking about different, like, you know, different scenarios. And like, you know, Naruto had, like, you know, at the very last end of the arc, he gets this huge power up, and then Like it's different, regardless.
Yeah.
But
And the other thing is that conceptually, one of the thematics of the story is that yes, Deku is All Might's successor. He's inheriting, his mantle, his title. But it's imperative that we remember that Deku's goal, that in season 2, Gran Torino's like, your worship of All Might is a shackle on your mind. It was imperative that we move him away from being All Might 2.0 as much as possible.
Yeah.
And him literally just showing up and doing all the same stuff All Might did isn't gonna, prevent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also thought, like, again, trying not to spoil, but I also thought it would have been very boring if he would have, if we went throughout the whole series and Deku was just like, that All Might 2.0. He's just fast, strong, he kicks, he punches, I'm just like, oh, that's like, there's not much you could do with that and that alone, So I'm very glad Horikoshi brought it up like the way he did, and I'm trying hard not to spoil, but yeah.
Facts, bro. That's what
it's
I'm
a skill.
quiet,
like talking, like having a non-spoiler discussion about something, especially something that's like we know is going to be so hype in this next season,
dude.
And especially like knowing what's happening in the manga right now is something that's like really hard to do. But
and that's why I said like prior, bro. I was like, I'm gonna just be quiet, bro, because I ain't got that skill, bro.
Well, a couple things that I could specifically say that like I'm excited to see in season 5, obviously, is My Villain Academia. But something that I like noticed, I guess I've always noticed, but something that I just recently brought up in my the most recent Jump coverage on my channel, and this isn't a spoiler, but I feel like Kohei's art specifically shines the brightest when like Shigaraki is in the scene.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you see, like, I feel like I see every single illustration technique that he's ever known whenever he's drawing Shigaraki or like scenes related to Shigaraki. And I feel like Bones, and I can't remember exactly because I've only like gone through the anime one time, but I feel like Bones translates that properly too.
You know what, they do, but it's kind of subpar this past season. But I only
that's what I heard. I didn't watch the whole season last season.
I'll just give them like I'm not gonna be too hard on them because, bro, the animation and the movie that came out. So I figured they put all their effort into the movie and kind of went a little subpar on the show because the movie's animation was fantastic, bro.
And that isn't to say that also like certain episodes were just insane. Like the
they still were, but
like
there were some little
4,
simp out moments, bro.
They brought back the budget from the fucking sports festival when Todoroki like first turned up. They brought that budget back for the end of the fucking season 4 fight with Endeavor in the hood. I was like, oh, I remember those techniques.
Yeah,
it's been a while since I seen that budget.
No, as soon as he put up the skyscraper, it was like all hail the cubes, bro.
yeah. But I mean, like, kind of just like going back to what I was saying about like how excited I am to see how they handle, Shigaraki and the League of Villains inside of the My Villain Academia arc without spoiling. I feel like there are so many scenes inside of the manga, like when you get that. I don't even know if this is necessarily a spoiler, so I'm not going to say it if I have to question it. But there are so many Shigaraki related scenes. That hit so hard in the manga, like aesthetically, when they came out, that Bones needs to make sure that they really pay attention to and really knock out of the park, because it's not just action that you need to have a high budget, illustration or animation, aesthetic for. Like, so what scenes I'm talking about, bro.
Yeah. Okay. So first off, the chapter Sleepy, specifically the chapter Sleepy, because he says, it always gets like this when I'm tired. And then, he starts seeing stuff like that. Like, I don't consider, like, that's not like a major thing. Like, he starts like seeing things. That particular sequence has to be done well because it's reflective of his like psychological state. But I think it's important to remember that part of the reason why the art for Shigaraki, when Kohei Horikoshi goes so hard in the manga, is because even more than Midoriya, Shigaraki is the first main character that Kohei Horikoshi ever actually wrote. A lot of people don't know or remember that his debut manga was Tenko, and that the scene, like the iconic scene in My Villain Academia with the landscape that really changed everything, is directly taken from the first manga that Horikoshi wrote, where the backstory and everything is literally like Horikoshi inserting his debut manga into My Hero Academia and writing it for his main villain. So you're always going to see like a certain level of passion. And it's not to say that Horikoshi doesn't care about other characters or story arcs or anything like that. But when you have someone who's like taking their most successful project ever in My Hero Academia, and then they get to combine it with their very first project in Tenko, like the art lately has just been so detailed and insane. And it's because this is like the culmination of every dream Horikoshi's had as a mangaka to this point. So I think that especially with him saying that he doesn't want to like do movies, he's trying to make sure that Bones is going to give his main manga that like that treatment that it deserves, especially going into My Villain Academia. It's way too important, and I think that's a big part of why he wanted to step away from the movies, just seeing like how the impact might have been on the seasons.
Yeah, and it also like similar to what Nux was saying, what you pointed out is like Horikoshi probably just loves Shigaraki, because every moment that he's in, there's either like a huge symbolic moment, like when we get his flashback into even now when he was just given a couple chapters ago a certain gift, right? Yeah. And then like you see everything where he was sitting when he was a kid, and then like how he'll always come back to those moments. And there's so many things that like Horikoshi does for Shigaraki that he won't even do for Deku himself.
Oh, wait, Florian, you cut out.
Ooh, sorry. Yeah, there's so many things that Horikoshi would do for Shigaraki to like really nail in the point of like his transformation, who is he becoming as a man and stuff that he would never even do for Deku, right? Like he really does love Shigaraki.
And I feel like a lot of that has to do with his like love for Western comics, right? So like when you like are an Eastern writer, so obviously like the East handles storytelling, a lot differently than the West does. But when you can find that perfect balance between what's great about Eastern storytelling and what's great about Western storytelling, it's going to bring you back to the villain inside of a superhero story, especially.
Always.
You know what I mean, and Kohei did such a good job of creating such an intense villainous atmosphere in his shonen story that I feel like you don't really get too often. Like ever since the first time a villainous act happens in the series, you could feel the stakes. You know what I mean? And I can't exactly put my finger on why, or I can't properly articulate, like my thoughts on why just off the top of my head, but everyone knows what I'm talking about. Like like with Western superhero stories, there's a lot of, it's very easy to be like cheesy with it. You know what I mean? Like now, Captain America, you'll never be able to stop me from taking over the city with my death ray. You know what I mean? And it's always like monster of the week, like kind of like cheesy, villain that you could easily write. But like inside of like My Hero, it's like I feel the stakes of a seinen villain.
Okay, so one of the things that I want to touch on that now, because so one of the best built-up villains in Western comics for me is Darkseid, but not Darkseid in general, but specifically my favorite American Western comic run is Mr. Miracle by Tom King.
Fuck yeah, that's one of his best books. Yes,
the way they build up Darkseid is like one, because it like one, it parallels like mental illness and stuff too, like the way the idea is just like constantly popping in your head, but you constantly get those Darkseid is panels. Yeah. Where like they're just trying to go through their daily life, and this overwhelming threat will constantly just set these panels of the story if just Darkseid is. So, and it's like this idea that no matter where you go, no matter what you're doing in your life, Darkseid is, the evil god is there, ready to crush you at any moment. Yeah. And so the way like Shigaraki was built up, like you see Deku and Shigaraki have actually only ever had 2 conversations. Right. Like actually they've had one real conversation, and then the other time it was Deku trying to punch him in the face and failing. Yeah. So, but when we, especially those of us who are further along in the manga, when we look at the story, we see them as 2 narrative structured foils who are basically the typical shonen archetype rivals, and yet they don't interact with each other. Their dreams aren't the same. It's just that they're so thematically structured around what the story is about, that we can see that obviously, because this is the main character, he's going to have to take on the main villain, but it also just makes sense. You don't see anybody else who's like embodying the side of good. Like Deku isn't doing what All Might did. He's learning from his friends. Like, during his most critical moments, he has flashbacks to various other people and their influences on him. And that's what usually allows him to make or break the discussion. It's not him just going plus ultra. In fact, if you think back, the fights that have the most like negative repercussions on Deku are the ones where he, by himself, goes plus ultra, breaks himself. It's when he works with other people and they, as a group, achieve results bigger than the sum of their parts. That Deku and them really shine.
And I feel like it really comes back to just like the attention that Kohei paid to like previous, stories in previous generations inside of the genre, right? Because I feel like it's very rare when you have villain character development that's shown alongside main protagonist character development in like a back and forth almost equal care, attention and care paid to it. You know what I mean? Like we can see how Shigaraki has developed so much from the beginning of the series till now, and that is juxtaposed against Deku, in a very similar way. And it creates such an interesting like dichotomy between, this black and white morality system inside, black and white quote unquote, system inside of My Hero Academia. You have Shigaraki representative of like absolute evil, and Deku, representing, the good side of that. But I feel like another thing is that whenever Shigaraki or whenever villains like show up inside of the series, the stakes are there because you have like instances of consequence that are like long lasting throughout the series and are constantly referenced back to. So like whenever villains show up, you don't know for sure that everyone's going to make it out okay, because not everyone does. As the first villain attack on Yue, fucking Aizawa got his face crushed into a staircase like over and over again, and he still has those scars. The next time villains attack, it's Stain, and he almost kills Ida. You know what I mean? And like that was like one of the highest stakes points in the series, I feel like. Then you fast forward to Hosu City, that was Hosu City, but then you fast forward to Daika or whatever. All of these incidents, have these like consequences, and the Yakuza, you know what I mean? Look at Mirio.
Even before that, bro, the Pussycats dolls, bro, like when they fought, bro, like they got wrecked, bro.
The fact that Kohei's not afraid to kill characters, he's not afraid to maim characters, and even like these incidents that aren't about like a character taking damage or dying are so huge in the society that the story takes place in.
Exactly.
That they're referenced back to in later arcs. You're constantly reminded of them. So then whenever these villains show up, you're like, okay, what's the next ridiculous thing that's going to happen that's going to impact the future of the story?
One of the other things that I want to point out, because you're talking about like building up your villains, having this honesty. A lot of people were dissatisfied with Shigaraki for so long, and obviously, like one of the things I'm just going to say right now is that I have like a 25-minute video explaining why Overhaul and Mirio exist as better versions of Deku and Shigaraki within the context of that arc. Only to get their comeuppance. So like, if you guys want to go ahead, watch that.
That sounds awesome.
Like, I'm not gonna lie.
Sounds amazing.
I even like wrote notes and stuff in a notebook and everything to like get it down for like that My Hero feel. But like the thing with Shigaraki is that you got to remember, he mentions that like their party doesn't have a healer when he meets Stain. And like it's easy to think like, oh, like Shigaraki just wasn't doing anything with this time between like, the USJ and the sports festival. No, he was injured. He was shot in both legs and to both arms. Yeah. And they didn't have a way to like really treat that. And like he could have gone to the doctor, but the doctor was in hiding. So like he was benched for like 6 weeks. Yeah. Then he got injured again by Stain. So while all these other moves were happening, and the thing is that you look back to the Forest Training Camp arc, and he talks about how the Vanguard Action Squad going there, regardless of whether or not they succeeded or failed, they would succeed in their sociological mission. The distrust, the corrosion of hero society, the belief in each other, like that whole goodwill. And the thing that I really like about that, though, is that it's easy to forget because it was season 2 into season 3, but the season finale of season 2 was literally that encounter where Deku and Shigaraki talk about ideology, and he's like, no, I've had my conviction from the start. I've always wanted to destroy All Might in this hero society. Now you show me that I need to be able to display it properly. And then you immediately segue into the Forest Training Camp arc, where his objective is less about raw destruction, just getting someone killed, and it's more about the ramifications of his actions. Putting it together, figuring out how to gather followers. So even while sidelining Bench and not watching him gain like power-ups and getting stronger, which I think is what a lot of people rely on when they see their villains, is in shonen in a lot of stories, the villain is what the hero has to reach as a goal. And Shigaraki does function as that because he is stronger than Deku. But it's very rare where you look at both the main villain and the protagonist, and you're like, nah, they got to get the weight up. And like the idea that he was like, no. And the thing is, it doesn't just extend to Shigaraki, because if you think about it, we got more contextualization of who Toga is, which will happen in season 5. Because one of the things I really like about season 5 as a concept is joint training and My Villain Academia being right next to each other. They both finish or like are happening more or less at the same time.
Yeah.
Because like My Villain Academia is the 6-week flashback.
Right.
And so they show you literally as Deku was training in school, Shigaraki is also doing what it takes to make these games. And so literally when you look at the timeline, it's like, okay, they've both been going through this. They've both been training, working hard. And then like you come up to December, January, and then now where we're at now, it's like, this is the culmination of the past year of work they both put in. But Shigaraki is a 21-year-old, and it's basically going to be 21 soon. And Deku's turning 16 or turned 16 over the past summer. It's not going to be this sweet thing. And that's another thing that I like about Horikoshi is what I call the stay in your lane effect, where a mangaka takes a story or any author and then they introduce this person is not the strongest person in the verse team. They're not going to save the day. There's people better than them, and then they honor that. Yeah, you see it in Hunter x Hunter when you have you can see it in Hunter x Hunter with the Netero versus Miriam fight, and then you see it here where, especially if you look at the comedy elements of it, their main contribution was making it easier for All Might to fight. They didn't pull up and like damage Toga. They didn't hit compress or Kuri. No, just getting in there, getting Bakugo out, and we got somebody new in the call. Speak up.
What's going on?
I don't want to put your government out there just in case, like, not.
No, don't.
Wait.
Wait, is this Moon?
You got to change your name.
Yeah, because it's gonna show up. It's gonna show up on the stream. Yeah, you gotta hit the 3 dots. Oh, there it goes. You gotta hit the 3 dots and then do change name.
Bro, I was rocking my government for I don't know how long, bro.
I made sure I changed that right away before we went into this.
Wait, huh? Meeting settings?
You want to on your video box, there's 3 dots in the top right corner. If you tap on that,
it's on the lower right for me, but it just says disconnect virtual background or meeting setting.
No, on your picture that's like that has your little
okay.
box.
Yeah.
There's 3 dots, then go to rename.
Wait, I can actually just rename you.
Oh, well, there you go.
I can rename you, my son.
Well, what's going on, dude?
Okay. There we go.
All right, Chi. So, what are you, without like overly spoiling? What are you?
No. Just go ahead. I'm just popping in real quick, see what's going on. Keep going. I gotta see what you guys are doing.
Okay. Well, we're doing like season 5 expectations, and then like in the latter half of the panel, we were gonna do like manga future theory. So. Well, and actually, we are at the halfway point, so we might want to start switching into. Oh yeah, we are. Okay, well, the last thing that I want to say about like my expectations for season 5, then before we switch over, and I'll make it short, is that like I'm really excited to see, the pathos that we get inside of the villain, faction, for certain characters that I don't want to really give away, but I feel like that's so important when you've been establishing villains for the entire series up until this point, and then right when you hate them the most or think that they're as incorrigible as they could be, you inject this pathos that humanizes them to a certain degree and kind of like flips your perception of like these characters and even what this world is in general on its head. And I feel like thought-provoking storytelling, tactics like that are what really propel these shonen stories, especially that seem to have been, for the last couple generations following a certain mold. And I feel like it's really groundbreaking to like move away from that safe style of storytelling because it's what sells, because you're that confident in your writing ability, and Kohei shines in like character psychology and and just like the depth of these characters on a human level, that he can write really visceral characters without it feeling like a soap opera. It's still very much a shonen, it's still very much action, and I'm so excited for anime onlys to see that in season 5.
Hell yeah, bro. Well said, bro.
Okay.
Well said.
So actually, that point builds wonderfully into discussing the future of the manga, though.
Yeah.
Because as we're talking about, because one of the things is that we lost a villain, right? Kohei Horikoshi took the time to really build up a villain, and in season 5,
man, that shit was sad.
Characters are gonna like anime onlys are gonna really get to experience like two more villains getting built up.
That shit hurt, bro.
And when we talk about the future, especially, and the way that Kohei handled that death with so little fanfare, with so little, like he didn't do that thing that like where a lot of anime and manga do, where, oh snap, a character died. We need to find a way to like draw as many people as possible to like this one moment, and everybody's got to inhale, exhale, and do all this other stuff and like really freak out. No, that guy was left dead on the floor. Even used as like a prop later, like, hey yo, look at this dead guy.
No, don't do that.
Actually,
yo, that was wild, bro.
Speaking of that, I love how Horikoshi notified the other character that person died, because usually what will happen in not only anime and manga, but just in any genre, like when a character dies, for some reason, magically, everybody just feels like something bad happened, right? And everybody has that like gasp moment. They look up in the air or something. But like only to notify that this one person died, like, that symbolism where that person, I'm not, again, trying not to spoil.
That person didn't even get their own death scene. Like,
just like you see what happens and how it was handled. It was just so beautifully done. Oh, I love it.
And that's the thing that keeps me excited, right? Is that we have, with the loss of that character, though, we also know, because of statements by Shigaraki, statements by other, like, this is going to bring the villains closer, and it's also going to set up the stage for what we've all said was coming, or what many of us who have been big fans are talking about, is the villains running society. With the power of friendship, because like the main
yo, before you go further, let me ask you this though, because this is kind of this is part of that, bro. What do you think is gonna happen with the effects of? I don't know how to explain without spoiling, bro. My man got two bodies on it, but two body count right now, bro. He got a villain and a hero. What's gonna happen with him? I'm not trying to mention him, but I hope you guys know.
Well, I think we can just safely like tell the audience we're going into future theory for manga right now, so it's like intense manga spoilers right now. So if you're anime only, maybe stop watching right now, or if you don't care, continue to listen. But like, we just want to have like a clear, delineation between what we were talking about before and what we're talking about now.
All right, so let me just say it then. So
Hawks, well, you have your warning. You know what I mean? Like, this is your warning. I've been warning you for 15 seconds. If you're here still, that's your own fault. Sorry.
Facts.
Hey,
all right, so Hawks,
Fiji was like, I'm heading out.
Hey, Hawks body count getting up there, bro. He got a hero and he has a villain now.
Yeah.
So
okay,
how do the heroes respond? How do the heroes respond?
Let's talk about that real quick.
Yeah.
Does he like?
That's a really big future point.
I've been in the camp that he did in fact kill that hero. My logic.
Well, if we're talking about
so if he did that though. Oh, go ahead, bro.
Yeah, we're talking spoilers now. You can say names. Best Genius is out of here.
I ordered this Funko Pop the other day.
but look, that's what I'm saying. So what's the repercussions for Hawks going back to the hero community if indeed he did that? You know what I'm saying? That's my question. Because he's gonna be looked at like a hero because he defeated a villain.
Well, see, that's the thing. It all depends on how like the government like covers that up, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they obviously sent him to go do that shit to a certain degree,
double agent.
I mean, so yeah,
they straight up said there's no glory or accolades in this for you.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I don't see them doing him right on this one. I don't see them being like, hey, this is our fault. Like, I don't see them taking accountability at all.
See, and that's my thing though. So how does he go back to the hero community?
Maybe he's resigned. Maybe he's resigned inside of himself not to, and just like knows the role that he needs to play to keep society.
So
safe.
He gonna be real life vigilante or what?
Well, I just feel like it would be really like sad. I feel like it would be really sad writing, because Hawks, I think he was telling the truth when he told Endeavor what his aspirations were inside of the society, but you could also tell maybe through like the illustration, techniques used on his face, that he knew that it was impossible for him to achieve his dream of what he thinks being a hero is, because he knows the dirt that he has to do in order to keep everybody safe in regard to this paranormal liberation army that we're in the midst of right now. So he knows the role that he needs to play. He knows that he's a pivotal factor. He knows what he wants from a hero society, but knows he'll never be able to see that because he has to sacrifice himself in every way, even up to his life, but at the very least, his future and his aspirations have to be sacrificed for the greater good here. And that's really heroism defined, in my opinion.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
that sacrifice is huge.
The other thing is that's part of why I think he caught that body. Because I think My stance has always been that Genus more or less was like, all right, I got that injury, et cetera, et cetera.
I'm dying anyway.
Like people were like, people still want the return of Best Genus, but it was like, bro, if you were ready, you probably would have been done it, right? Like it's been like 3 months. This is kind of what it was like 2 months in, but
when he dropped the body bag off, I was like, that's a string clone. I was like, he got y'all dumbasses.
So like I wanted to like, but then like Dobby was like, you know, regardless of this, whether or not this is him, you killed someone. So for Dobby, I think that was just about like getting, all right, cool, more dirt. Because we got to talk about how the Hero Commission is going to betray Hawks. Endeavor is going to get exposed, especially looking at this. Like, we have this big barren wasteland, right? This like literally, Shigaraki is standing on a mesa, elevated above the ground with like a giant fireball flying at him right now.
Yeah.
Where I'm sorry, but there has to be some news crews because the reality is like they pulled up and they were like, we have to evacuate. So if they did that, like some news crew, somebody tweeted it, somebody is on the like up in the air right now, about to pull up on that, see everything that's happening, and find out, you know, this is Toya Todoroki. This is why this is happening. X, Y, and Z. Because, and I believe it was a Twitter user named Kez. I think it was Kez that posted this the other day. But he kind of showed us the manga panels leading up to the Kamino incident with All Might, and then showed us the exact parallels with Endeavor and how like Horikoshi is literally drawn like a couple scene for scene like cutaways essentially of the same thing. So the moments that we need is like Endeavor like sacrificing it all to protect someone that's going to track, and then we are also going to need him more or less getting exposed and society knowing the weaknesses of him and like who he is, and whether or not they decide to cheer for him going forward or not is the thing that like is the big question. Are they still going to be able to cheer for Endeavor after they find out he's an abuser and all these other things, or is everybody going to be completely disenchanted with Heroes regardless of whether or not he lives or dies? And I think it's this latter, not the former.
So real quick, real quick in the chat, Sean Stroman asked us a really cool question. He says, does Stain bend the knee to Shiggy if released from Tartarus, or does he stay integral to his moral standing on how he feels towards Heroes? My answer to this is absolutely not, and I said that in the chat. But to go more in depth on that, Stain is 100% a die on his feet for his ideology kind of character. I don't think his character, in regard to his outlook on things, is ever going to change that drastically.
Bro, you know Stain's a hero at heart, bro.
He's very much a Rorschach in this story. He's very much he's very much Rorschach from Watchmen in this story is what I equate him to. Like he knows what he thinks is right. He obviously is trying to do the right thing the very wrong way. You know what I mean? But he's makes sense. You know what I mean? And when you have a relatable,
there's a method to his madness, bro.
Yeah, this motherfucker is spitting, bro. Yeah, he's just a maniac and doesn't know how to fucking get his point across properly. And that's probably because of like his, you know, we get some of his background in vigilantes.
The other thing is that I would say that there's a certain level of hypocrisy to Stain that needs to be addressed at some point in the story. And I think, and one of the things before this war really got going in the manga, we had it alluded to that All Might originally was going to go talk to Stain. Like he had a plan to sit down, talk to Stain face to face. Now, Stain being the ultimate All Might fanboy and completely misconstruing because like the commercialism that is the Hero Society is partially built up by All Might. And I kind of want to see All Might and Stain have that conversation, or have Stain have that realization that he has a flawed understanding of who All Might is. I think a lot of like his worship of All Might is directly based upon his impact and not necessarily on who All Might is. It's about how All Might made him feel. You know what I mean?
But to bring back up the comment, and because that what Nux said kind of had me thinking, if Shigaraki breaks out Stain from prison, and Stain is such a huge, you know, he's really hard-headed in his ideologies. He's not going to waver from it at all. So I would assume that Stain would try to take down Shigaraki, but then I see Toga stopping Shigaraki from killing Stain because Shigaraki said, "I'm not going to kill the things that my friends love," right? Yeah. And then that will end up having Stain join the hero side just to, you know, kind of temporarily try to take down the evil. Maybe like some like, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? What's like anti-heroes shit. That's how I kind of see Stain as.
And see, that's what makes that's what I was talking about earlier. It's like the villainous dynamic inside of My Hero Academia is so awesome because you have contention inside of the villainous ranks. They don't just all agree with each other. It's not, oh, captain, my captain. You constantly have like, you know, these character interactions inside of this villainous organization where they don't always agree with each other. It's not just Shigaraki said so, I have to do it. They will fight each other, it seems like, you know what I mean? Like it's very much reminiscent of like the Phantom Troop in Hunter x Hunter. I'm trying to think of other like, you know, villainous organizations or antagonist organizations
where they actually have their own agendas.
exactly, you know what I mean? And like it's a little bit different inside of the Phantom Troop and Hunter x Hunter because like no matter how much they argue, they're still diehard, you know,
Prolo fanboys.
yeah, you know, Prolo fanboys, yeah. But I mean, like, I just think that ragtag aspect of their relationship with each other is what makes them so much more engaging, on top of the pathos that they receive, on top of the development and progression that they get alongside the protagonist side of characters. But I mean, I just feel like Kohei was like, this is my villainous dynamic in my story. He wrote that first, fleshed it out brilliantly, and then wrote the rest of the story around them. That's what it feels like.
It feels like that.
Yeah, it feels also, like, yeah.
We got a question that I thought was actually pretty good. Somebody compared the League of Villains to Night Raid from Akame ga Kill. And that kind of works. It's like, people, that kind of works for me, but not quite, but kind of.
I would love to hear an explanation.
Greed's old Chimera Gang in FMA, that might be a better comparison. The Chimera Gang.
Yeah, I like that better. Yeah. And
then Richard asked us, do you think Stain would even stay the same with All Might, the only hero he ever saw as a future hero, and his linchpin for his beliefs out of the picture altogether? And I'm going to say yeah, specifically because once All Might steps down, he can never screw up.
Yeah.
By going out a hero that was broken, if anything, that would have reaffirmed Stain's beliefs if he knows what happened. If he knows that All Might was injured for like 6 years and was like out here still on a timer fighting all these villains, he's gonna be like, see, I was right. All Might's the GOAT. Praise All Might. Let me do a line of coke off his butt. Like
that was a visual I didn't think I'd ever get.
Like, but that's just like how he is, right? Like Stain, I don't think would ever move away from that path, and I think that's kind of the point. And I think Dabi is supposed to be the refined Stain. That's what we're getting to. Like, the reality is that Stain had his will, he had his vision, he had his ambition, but he didn't have the machinations, the ability to actually work with people, the ability to, because like Dabi was like, all right, I agree with Stain's will. I want there to be a complete overhaul. There's no real heroes. How do I make this happen? All right, bet. I will literally work with this dude that I think is gross and don't like, and this crazy girl, and all these other people just to destroy hero society.
Yeah.
The dedication that Dabi has had, that's why in one of my streams, I was like, people were making fun of Dabi because the Ultra Analysis book said he had a C in intelligence. And
wow.
I'm like, no, that was Kohei like hiding, that's him hiding information.
That's misdirection.
No doubt, bro.
Especially because he made it a point to give him like a 6 out of 5 in mystery. Nah, bro, like he's telling you directly, like you don't know Dabi the way you want to know Dabi.
Yeah.
And that's okay, because like think about it, Dabi. And the thing that I like about Dabi is that everybody, except for my buddy Rex, for the most part, agrees that Toya is Dabi. And the reason for that is because Horikoshi is basically telling us the important part of Dabi isn't just that he is the son of Endeavor, it's what he's doing, what he's trying to achieve within the context of the world of the story, and what he's going to do with his role as Endeavor's son. Not necessarily just him being the son. So if you already think, okay, he's the son, now you're focused on what is the impact. Hey, Rex is in the chat.
Rexor.
Man, if you heard the way him and Dustin fight every week about that Toya and Dabi thing.
Well, and we kind of like argue about that like on my show a lot too, and it's like I think it's madness. I have a couple people on like on my panel that are like, if it is Toya, we should know that by now. And I feel like the main reason why they think that is because of that all black panel or that all black dialogue bubble that we got when Dobby was fighting Hawks. It's like that would be the time to like, why was that blacked out? You know, and I can't remember the argument exactly, but I mean, I had the same argument with people on Twitter too. And it's like, fam, it's like that doesn't need to be, you know, a reveal for us. Like maybe it's obvious, you know, and Kohei's making it obvious because he wants us to know that, but like doesn't want other characters in his series to know that. You know what I mean? Like that reveal would be for Endeavor. And we can know it the whole time. There's different kinds of irony.
Yeah, like the black speech bubble was literally for, like, that was like Horikoshi basically being like, no, you don't, like, this isn't for you.
Yeah.
Like, that was him, like, screaming it at us. Like, this is not for you. This is for the characters. And the thing is that this isn't even a new literary technique. This is actually something that is used in plays a lot. Like, because I actually dated a girl for a while too that was like really big into Shakespeare, so I got to like, see some of these techniques like unfold. And but one of the things that, even if you just remember your freshman English class, is plays have this feature to them where the characters constantly make asides, and they literally intentionally do a fourth wall break, and they're like, ha, like if you read the play Titus Andronicus, there's a scene where they try to trick this old man into thinking like they're Furies and like basically like the manifestation of the revenge spirit and all kind of other stuff.
Fuck.
And Titus is like, oh yeah, you guys are the revenge spirits, and literally leans over to the audience and is like, these are not the revenge spirits. These are the sons who violated my daughter. I'm gonna mess them up. Yeah. And sure enough, he tricks them into leaving her, like the woman into leaving her sons, and then kills both the sons, makes meat pies out of them, and feeds them to the mom.
Wow.
And this is all predicated on the idea that they think they're tricking him, and we, the audience, already knows that Titus is not tricked.
Wow. And see, there's different kinds of irony, man, and like people are just like so used to. I feel like it goes back to what I was saying earlier about how like people are comparing, you know, what they think Kohei is trying to do to like things that mangaka have done in the past that they didn't think was executed properly. You know what I mean? So when they see hints that things are going to go a certain way that they didn't approve of in another story, they jump the gun and say, this is what Kohei's doing, because they can't think of another option because they're not an author, for one. And two, they don't know what the fuck this motherfucker is planning. And for some reason, especially people on Twitter seem to think that if they can't think of a certain possibility, that it can't happen any other way. Well, you know what I mean? So
okay, so now that we're like the anime onlys, I think, left.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, the original description of One for All was, this is a quirk that like could pass on other quirks, and the quirk that pass on quirks combined with the quirk to stockpile power. So it lets you know right away that if your quirk touches this other quirk, they're now attached.
Yeah.
So to me, all the quirks would have become a package deal. I always thought that All Might secretly had a durability quirk, aerokinesis for the wind blast, and like stuff like that. That like I thought One for All like that. So like that's how I interpreted it. And then it was just like, no, he's just doing this with raw power. I was like, all right, cool. It literally just stockpiled a bunch of power. But when it revealed that the genetic information, because like for me, the thing that made it obvious and consistent is that Horikoshi had already shown us that that's how DNA and quirk information works. Quirk factor back in the overhaul arc when he spliced his body with other people and started using their quirks. Mm-hmm. So it's like he spliced himself, became like combined both their bodies, was now able to become. Also, if you think about it, overhaul technically made himself a Nomu. Anyway, just a weird thought.
A little beak too. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
Before I forget, I'm sorry. Oh wait, well, because we kind of have to like start winding.
Yeah, we are getting close to the end.
Okay, so before I forget, one major prediction that I have that I just want to put out there while it's in mind. Obviously, I feel like a lot of people feel this way. Villains are going to win this arc. Then we go into like a Tartarus jailbreak arc eventually, which is being hinted at very intensely throughout the series. Staying and All for One are out. All for One thinks it's sweet. Shigaraki kills All for One. Stain goes back into and I can go into the levels of the details and levels.
Okay.
That interaction would be like later. But bottom line, Shigaraki kills All for one reason or another. Stain is now back in Gen Pop. You know what I mean? Like out in the world, and not necessarily like changes his outlook on things, but becomes more of like an anti-hero type character instead of just a maniacal hero killer.
something fun that I would like. Now I want to throw a fun theory out because you said that,
Yeah.
and I think this is a fun idea. Stain respected Deku, if you remember that.
Mm-hmm.
If we're talking about Stain getting into Gen Pop,
I know where you're going.
Hero Society getting restructured.
I know where you're
Is
going,
there
bro.
a possibility
Yep.
that Stain starts training these people in combat?
Let's
Yep.
go.
Like having Stain
Bro,
be the one to be
Let's
like,
go.
Whenever Knox was talking about it earlier about Stain and his conviction and stuff like that, I was already like running that. Like, should I just say it now or whatever? But yeah, bro, you're on it, bro. You're on it, bro. But I was doing something. But yo, question real quick: why does not? If we all know that Toya is, you know, a Todoroki and he's Endeavor's son, why doesn't Endeavor notice his fucking son? Like, can somebody help me with that? Is he a no move secretly? Like, does he look that much different?
There's a couple things about it that make it make sense. One, in the first premiere of Dabi, in the manga, it's not as clear, but in the anime, they straight up define it, make it clear. He is going to a salon. 2,
wow.
Dabi is, so he's probably dyeing his hair. 2, he's heavily maimed and injured, so he doesn't look like, you know, what the childhood version of himself would look like. 3, personally, I believe that as a kid, Dabi was enrolled in the same program as Hawks. And I think Endeavor was fully aware of it. And
bro.
In it, and that's why he's like, I might as well have killed him because Dabi died in a training accident for the Hero Commission. Or Toya, and that's how I think about it. And like when they went to scrap him, I think that the doctor was going to take his body, decided that his quirk had so much backlash, didn't experiment on him and let him go. But that's part of why the doctor immediately took a liking to Dabi.
Okay.
So like that's where I'm at on that one.
Okay.
I have this little headcanon theory where since Endeavor says I'm the reason I killed my son, like, you know, I killed Toya, I believe he was trying to get Toya to do the, you know, that burning flashpoint thing that he's training Todoroki to do. And since we know that Dabi's quirk has a backlash on his quirks, those are where those scars come from, because he pushed Toya too hard, and then it ended up killing him, and then like probably faked his death or something. I don't know, but like, you know, it's still, everything is. It's weird. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but I just want to see how it.
Also, I'm going to point out that the one time Endeavor would have had a good look at Dabi, because also remember that he's only looking at like a picture of his profile. But when Dabi has actually made villainous actions, we've seen him in action. It's during the overhaul arc on the highway. Endeavor wasn't there. For his training camp, Endeavor wasn't there. So like the one time Endeavor and Dabi have actually seen each other face to face, Endeavor was basically missing one of his eyes, covered in blood. In the midst of having a heat just fell like an entire, like fell multiple stories, got thrown through multiple buildings. He had a lot on his plate. Like, so I think that's and if you remember, Hori even made it a point to show that his vision was blurry.
Yeah.
So, and Horikoshi doesn't waste panels. Like we were talking about how in joint training, Tetsu flexed Shota. Fun fact, if you go back and read Sports Festival, after the robots fall on them, after Shota makes the robots fall, Kirishima breaks out. Then Tetsu breaks out. And he directly says, that icy hot bastard, as soon as I get my hands on him, I'm going to beat his ass. So then you fast forward like 200 chapters, and as soon as Tetsu gets his hands on Shota, what happens? So like it's a gag moment that literally was telling you, no, this is how this fight goes.
Oh man. Oh yeah, dude.
But
what a great conversation.
We got 2 minutes left, so I guess we should just like kind of wrap up. We'll just go through everybody, give your final thoughts. Knox.
I can't wait to see. The future of the series. I feel like it would be so awesome for a complete and utter hero defeat. I feel like we don't really like see that too often on the protagonist side, just like complete and utter loss. I'm trying to remember a time from before that like was actually like felt real, and it's like Straw Hat loss on Shabandi inside of One Piece. It doesn't happen very often. Like, you know, feel free to drop, you know, examples of that, you know, in recent shonen storytelling, like when things like that happen. That's great.
Honestly, I'm glad you mentioned that, because as much as people talk about like how they hate the school stuff, I recently had somebody because I like retweeted for Never, and that ended up turning into like a big thing between like some of the people on Twitter or whatever. But somebody mentioned like there's just too much to spare. I would love for the kids to get to have some fun again.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool having like that split in the fandom where like some people are like, yeah, actually I kind of want the kids just to get to enjoy themselves.
Yeah.
But the kids, for the most part, have enjoyed themselves. The despair has just became from the villain side. They haven't really hurt the kids too much like that.
Oh yeah, like it's from our it's our dread that people are projecting
Yeah.
on the kids, not thinking about the fact that they technically, because like for us, it's like, oh, they spent 4 months training to be child soldiers in this war, and then like for the kids, it's like, sweet, we all got internships. Like,
Yeah.
they didn't know.
Exactly.
But Flo, like final thoughts from you, Flo?
Amazing discussion. Before the
dude.
call starts, how we were talking about how most other series, not going to name them, how they don't have the same type of level of discussion that they're able to have.
What'd you say?
Flo, you the spirit. You an avatar on us.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like similar how we were said before, like most shonen series, they can't really, most people don't really talk about the actual story, the plot, and don't really have like decent conversation and well thought out thoughts about how the story is and how it's going, and we're able to all like talk and discuss on how we feel about different story and elements and plots, that's how it's being handled and stuff. But this is just another great discussion from My Hero. I'm excited to see season 5 be animated.
Dude.
It is undoubtedly the most important season to be adapted. So I really hope Bones doesn't screw it up in any way.
Yeah.
So,
but they'll find a way to complain no matter what.
That is true. That is true.
It wouldn't be the internet without the complaining, bro.
I swear.
But great. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for the discussion. Remember to like and subscribe to ANITUBE CON, and have a great day, guys.
Yeah.
All right, Supra.
Man, I don't really got anywhere for you to follow me besides Twitter, bro. But dude, I'm just like, I'm just overwhelmed, bro. Like, I love talking this stuff, and like I told you guys earlier, like this is dope meeting new people to have these conversations with, because my friends are kind of weird, like their opinions sometimes and their theories, like I'd be like, where you come up with this shit from? But I digress,
anytime, man.
Yeah, dude, like, man, like you said, I'll be out, man. Whatever you're doing later this month, bro, I'm there, bro. But man, hey, yeah. But for sure, bro, like I'm just, man, this is just dope, bro. Like this whole thing that we assembled, like fantastic, man. Just keep it up, bro, and let this become an annual thing, whether the cons are back or not, bro. Like,
I would love that.
Do it.
I'm fully on board for having the cons be an annual thing. We talked about that last night, honestly.
Yeah. Even more often than annual, dude. Twice yearly,
bro.
Screw it.
That'd be sick.
Be like for like a spring and
summer and a winter. Summer and a winter.
I'm down for that.
I think you guys should do it by like, you know how they release anime per season? Like you have the spring season, the winter season. You guys should do it for whatever season it's in, and you should discuss that anime or that manga that's like most popular at the time.
Let's go. I'm here for it.
That's not a bad idea.
Especially
make sure you bro. Make sure you guys visit the description. It's gonna be Tiltify links in there for just for people who might have like come into the conversation later. We got Black Lives Matter charities and COVID charities.
Girls are never on time.
Oh, I meant for the audience.
Yeah.
Okay,
but
yeah. Okay.
Look, all I'm gonna say is I've been enjoying where My Hero Academia has been lately. I'm glad that we got to have this discussion. I'm glad you guys that came through in the chat did. Don't forget that we have Black Lives Matter and COVID Tiltify links in the description, like Knox just mentioned. So make sure you donate if you can. Obviously, the Corona times have been hard on a lot of people.
Yeah. I
understand, like if you haven't been able to work or just whatever, if you can't donate, that's fine. This is also just for you to enjoy, help bridge the gap. ASIN, Katsune Con, so many cons got canceled this year. So we just thought it would be really nice if we could bring, like the panel experience and just, give it to everybody. Maybe if you don't necessarily like watching YouTube videos all the time about anime people talking, this is something that you can have.
And just talk about what we love, bro. Like in general.
So
talking about what we love. Because it is kind of dry in these streets from just anime news in general, from cancellations of whatever mangas and stuff like that. So like, it's good to just talk about it, bro, because it's not really been addressed that much right now, bro.
Yeah. So all I can really say is I've enjoyed the stream. If you guys enjoyed it, you can. Every week we do I do live reactions. Aniki Smash FSP, the name that you see in the bottom. You can follow me on YouTube. We have these discussions. I actually have a My Hero Academia billboard chart stream discussion plan that's going to bring on, like 10, 15 people more than likely, sit around, discuss the overall state of the series, best arts, etc. So that'll be June 28th. So if you want to see another big collaboration, Knox will be there. I already told Super to be there. Florian's going to be there. Florian's actually on my channel almost every week. So
Yes, sir.
if you guys want more My Hero Academia discussions and content, you know where to find it now. That being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the panel. Have a wonderful day.
Bye, guys.
Stay safe,
See ya.
everybody.
Stay safe.